Blog Talk Radio.
Bringing power through integrity from the belly of the beast, your host and conservative connection, Dr. Jim Robbins.
Hey, everybody. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. This is Jim Robbins, senior editorial writer for the Washington Times. And with us, as always, I think, is B. Wilson out there somewhere. Are you out there, B?
Of course.
Okay. Because we were talking before the show, sort of chatting back and forth, and B's like, I'm not going to say anything today. I'm like, why not? No, so I'm just not going to say anything. And I thought, okay, it's something I did. Because, you know, I've been married long enough to know that when it's the silent treatment, then it's like, okay, something I did. I don't know what it is, but I just did something. And so I'll find out eventually, right?
It's not that.
Hi, this is Beatrice, and you might notice that Jim likes to mess with me often. That is actually a clip, an intro clip from a show that we did back in late January, actually. And Jim is not here today. Welcome to the Conservative Connection. I am here, but only in audio. So what I decided to do is take a couple of clips from some previous shows, and one of the things that I really wanted to do back in January when this show aired was to take this particular portion of this show that we named Robbins Rules for Countering the Radical Left, and put that together in a sort of a snippet to air, and never actually got it done. I mean, I got parts of it done, you know, it's working from home thing. Anyway, so today, or last night, I had the opportunity to do that, to pull that portion off of the old audio, and had some fun going through quite a library of Conservative Connection shows that I've had the honor of producing for Jim Robbins, and while he's gone, we get to enjoy some of his brilliance. And this time we get to pick and choose, so should be fun. Let's listen in on Robbins' Rules for Countering the Liberal Left.
So, for example, no, but the thing is, and here's why it's important, because these are the themes that they think are going to run them right back into the White House. And so if you want to oppose it, you have to look at the themes and try to take their themes and the things that you can do. Either A, you say, that's not true. Like they say a fact. You just say that's not true. For example, where they were talking, or it's either not true or it's not the whole truth. Like saying when he said, in the last 22 months, businesses have created more than 3 million jobs. Now, if you look it up, and I haven't yet because I was too busy glazing over looking at the rest of the speech, but I recently did look at the unemployment figures, and what you find is that, yes, jobs have been created, but they're not net jobs. Like if you added up every job that was created in the last 22 months, and by the way, the guy's been in office for 36 months, so whatever. He doesn't count the first year for some reason. What you'll find is that, yes, jobs have been created, but jobs have also been lost. I mean, you have to look at the net, right? You don't just look at okay, here's how many jobs appeared. You have to also subtract out the jobs that were lost, but they're only counting one side of the ledger. So if you're countering this point, you say, yes, 3 million jobs have been created. But how many jobs have been lost, Mr. President? And then, then you move on from there. And even the crosstown rival paper, and this blew me away because they never do any kind of analytical examination of Obama claims. I mean, even the ombudsman of the crosstown rival paper had something in Sunday's paper saying we need to be tougher on Obama. We need to have critical examination of his record. The ombudsman of their paper was saying, criticizing their own paper, saying, hey, you guys you let Obama get away with everything. You have to at least. And the funny thing was, they weren't even saying just be tougher on him. They were saying actually ask the questions. Just. Hey, why do you take White House talking points and just reprint them was the basic thrust of this ombudsman's report. Why don't you ask questions about things? Of course, they'll ask questions and come up with and the White House is 100% right and we love them. Maybe that'll be their answer. But they're saying they don't even question it. So in the spirit of that, here, the crosstown rival paper comes up with something about this particular thing. That they were analyzing the speech and said something about how the unemployment numbers are abating, and this is the quote, or many of the unemployed finally vanished from our statistical periphery, unquote. Aha. So the crosstown rival paper has discovered what we've been writing about in our paper for a little while now, in fact, for a couple years, that one of the ways that they rig the unemployment number is they just say that some people are out of the workforce. They just stop counting them as unemployed. They're just out. They're just vanished. They're gone. They just don't count them anymore because they only look at the quote-unquote active workforce. And we talked about this before, and I'm sure I'm going to write about it again. But if you just keep diminishing the size of the active workforce, then your unemployment numbers keep looking better. Because the unemployment number is a proportion of the active workforce. How many people in the active workforce are out of work? Well, if you keep shrinking that number, you don't even have to create jobs to make it look better. It just automatically looks better. But who determines who's in the active workforce? Well, it's some statistician over at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and they just come up with that number, and it's so far down in the weeds that no one looks at it. They just look at the main headline. Unemployment down. Unemployment 8.5%. Hey, that's great. What percentage of that was because you just shrank the active workforce? Because let me tell you something, it is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. So you get a number like this. He says, hey, you've created 3 million jobs. That's good, Mr. President. How many people have left the active workforce? How many people, according to your own numbers, are so discouraged that they just gave up on America? They just gave up on you, Mr. President. They gave up on gainful employment. Well, it's more than 3 million. I got news for you. So whatever. Okay, so that's one thing you can do. Just take out a fact and then say, you said this, but let's look at reality. Okay, that's one approach to all these things. A second approach, just tease out take out the themes, the major themes that they're going to be looking at, as opposed to a specific fact or that you can take ad hoc. Look at the big picture themes. And here's one that I heard this before the speech, and we heard it in the speech, and you're going to keep hearing this one, that we can restore an economy where everybody gets a fair shot, everybody does their fair share, and everyone plays by the same set of rules. And, of course, as B pointed out, this contains the word fair a lot, so you should be, well, if we were having the drinking game, it's early, it's still morning, I don't recommend it. Have a shot of cappuccino, whatever. The word fair is in there a lot, okay. So, now, to me, this is like painting a big target on themselves. Because, yeah, for sure. You want to talk about fairness.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about, okay, Mr. President, you want to have everyone play by the same set of rules. Who's getting Obamacare waivers? You rammed through this healthcare system that is raising costs, that is incomprehensible, that is harming the economy, making it harder for employers to employ people. Okay, so you have set this great national burden on the country. But if you're a friend of the White House, you don't have to play by those rules. You get an Obamacare waiver. Look at the unions that are getting the waivers, that they don't have to abide by the rules of this healthcare system that the president sold as this great solution to a national crisis. Look at you've probably seen reporting on all of the companies connected to Nancy Pelosi that are out in her district that contribute to her campaign that suddenly got Obamacare waivers. You said everyone plays by the same set of rules, Mr. President, and yet you also said that this Obamacare thing was the greatest thing since sliced bread that was going to solve all of our health care problems, but your friends don't have to abide by it. And you know what, Mr. President? At the end of the day, you don't have to abide by it either. The Obamacare system doesn't apply to you. It doesn't apply to you, Mr. President. Your own system, and you have an exemption. Mr. Obama, you said we're going to have an America where everybody plays by the same set of rules. And yet, your most important rule, the biggest rule, the thing you're staking your reelection on, the thing you have staked your entire reputation on, your friends don't play by those rules, Mr. President. Why, Mr. President, why? See, nail him on that one, right between the eyes. And that's a twofer, because not only can you show that he doesn't even believe in this fairness rhetoric, but it applies to his signature program, the most important thing he's done, and the thing that the American people now don't like. So, see, that one phrase, Republicans should be all over that. And maybe they are, I don't know. But, frequently I'm mystified by why people don't take those opportunities. Heck, during the Bush administration, there were so many great their communication strategy was so hosed up, and I was a supporter, but still, they just, and people in the administration would tell me this too, that, I had sympathizers, folks I knew who worked in the White House, whatever, they say, yeah, things are screwed up. Bad communication strategy. Okay, so fine. So if Republicans don't latch onto this, then they're crazy. Take on that fairness claim. Because that's the thing. They say, the Obama administration, the Democrats, the liberals, we're the fairness people. The Republicans, the conservatives, our opponents, those meanies, they are the unfairness people. Not true. We're the ones who want the level playing field. We are the ones who want everybody playing by the same set of rules and fewer rules, right? Less government. Fewer rules and better rules. Not just fair, but smart. See, talking points. Turn it around on them. Take the speech. Don't be afraid of the speech. Take it and turn it back on them because they do not abide by these things. Another thing I really liked. He wants to talk about moving forward. He said, well, we're not going to turn back. We have come too far to turn back. Well, no one's saying turn back. How far have we come? We've come pretty far down into a ditch. Remember shovel ready? We keep digging a hole. We've dug too deep to turn back. Is that what he's saying? No, but he wants a blueprint for an economy. What was that?
We've dug too deep to find our way out.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. We've walked in. Every time we dig ourselves into a hole, he's looking for the light at the end of the tunnel. But he wants a blueprint for an economy that's built to last. It sounded like a car slogan, something built Ford tough. Gets in the whole Ford meme. Ford did not take the bailout money. Anyway, blueprint for an economy that's built to last. Now, here we are 3 years into his presidency, and he's essentially admitting he didn't have a plan. Yeah, the blueprint comes at the start of your project. Now, the president may not know about construction. He doesn't know much about building, apparently, because right now he's saying what we need is a blueprint. Well, fella, you've had 3 years in office, plus you had all that, campaigning you were doing beforehand. And, spending trillions of dollars and wasting them, apparently, because you didn't have a plan. Because right now you're talking about the blueprint. Dude, the blueprint comes first. Then you sink us into trillions of dollars of debt. So now he's saying what we need is a blueprint because we've come too far to turn back. You came this far without a blueprint? See what I mean? They have confusing themes. I mean, who wrote that? Hey, we need the blueprint. Now, he could have just said what a better theme, and I'm not trying to give them good advice. But he could have said, we are building an America, built to last. Or, we're working on it, something like that. Like what Roosevelt said, or was it Lincoln? Don't change horses in midstream. Didn't Lincoln say that, and then FDR picked it up? In any case, it could be something like that. Like, hey, we've built a solid foundation in America. Now we're going to erect the skyscraper or something like that. You don't talk about the blueprint. Again, just come on. Republicans, it's just a target. Now, here's another thing you can do. Okay, so you can go for specific little things. You can try to take big themes and then show how they are hypocrites. Okay, this is under Robbins Rules. Okay, you've got Alinsky rules. These are Robbins Rules. Here's how you do it. This, the rhetoric and and political warfare on their points. Take them on the specifics. Nail their hypocrisy on the big themes where they don't even follow their own rules. And here's the third one. Just co-opt them. Co-opt stuff. Every time that Mr. Obama talks about a Republican theme or something, a conservative theme, and like the press are getting vapors. Oh, he's a genius. He's outflanking them. Oh, he's brilliant. Because he talks about some minor tax cut or something. Suddenly he's the tax-cutting president. Oh, look at it. He's just great. What are the Republicans? What could they possibly do? How can the conservatives come back to his genius flanking maneuver? And it's easy. You just co-opt it and you do better. So, for example, last night he was talking about stuff about businesses and trade and outsourcing and so forth. And so if you're an American manufacturer, you should get a bigger tax cut. That is, if you're American manufacturer in America, you should get a bigger tax cut. He didn't talk about how big a tax cut. He didn't talk about how he's going to pay for it. And, critical reporters, if they want to abide by what the ombudsman of the Crosstown Competitor paper was saying, they would say things like that. Okay, Mr. President, you suggested a bigger tax cut. How big, and how are you going to pay for it? Using the parlance of Washington, where you have to pay for a tax cut, right? I mean, to me, a tax cut, it's letting people keep more of their own money. You don't pay for it. You stop taking it. But in Washington parlance, since everything has to be, like, budget neutral, you say, oh, how are you going to pay for that? Meaning, what other tax are you going to raise to pay for that? So really, the liberal press, the mainstream media, if they were honest with themselves, which I doubt, they should be asking him that. You suggested that a bigger tax cut. How much? How much is it? Where are you going to get it? I mean, this is a big, great list of ideas you gave last night, but in program terms, in terms that will actually affect the American people, in terms of pursuing a legislative agenda that will actually go to the Congress and may actually become a law instead of just some bumper sticker slogan, what do you propose, Mr. President? You're the chief executive. What do you got? Do you have a plan to back this up, or was it just happy talk? Oh, just happy talk. Okay. Because someone just tossed it in, right? It's in the speech. Hey, look, he promised us you're going to get a bigger tax cut if you're an American manufacturer. Okay, how much is it? When does it start? How will that help us create jobs? What's it? Which tax are you cutting? Crickets. No details. What do you got? Oh, it's just something I said. Okay. But getting back, that's more on the take their themes and turn them into hypocrisy. But what I'm talking about is this co-opting. Rule number 3. Take it and say, Republicans should say, the president said if you're an American manufacturer, you should get a bigger tax cut. We agree, and we propose this, and then just put it out there. Here's what we propose. Here's the size of the tax cut, and here's who's going to get it. The president said if you're a high-tech manufacturer, we should double the tax deduction you get for making products here. But what we say is we should quadruple it. Don't let him get away with it. Double down on it. He's trying to co-opt the issue. Take it back and do it better. Well, why is it? Well, he's some genius because he's taking the rhetoric of conservatism, things that people actually approve of, and suddenly making them his own, like he owns them. Then the Republic, okay, sorry, because the President Obama already talked about the manufacturing tax cut, so no one else can talk about it. Talk about it. Make it an issue. Don't let him get away with it. Go for it. Zoom in on it. There were things throughout the speech where he was doing that. Just, there were good ideas in the speech is what I'm saying. Yes, there were some good ideas, and they were all conservative ideas, and they were all an attempt for the president to cover his flank. Well, they say I'm a tax raiser, but here are my tax cuts that I've proposed, a few minor tax cuts here and there. Well, fine, don't let him get away with it. Take them, double them, triple them, and attach real numbers to them and say, here's a real proposal. You just had speaking in vague terms. You don't even have a proposal, Mr. President. You say you want manufacturers to get a bigger tax cut. Here's the exact cut. Here's how we're going to do it. Here's how here's how we're going to quote unquote pay for it. Whatever, if you even want to play that game. And here's how it'll affect the economy. Here's our plan, Mr. President. You don't even have a blueprint. Turn the speech back on him. It was not a great speech. Slap together a whole bunch of ideas, a laundry list of nonsense. But, somebody who really wanted to make this into something, they could just take it and just pound him with it. Because the bad ideas in here that are bad, there are good ideas in here that could be made better. And the broad themes in here, they don't even abide by them. It just shows their hypocrisy. And then there were some things in here that were just gratuitous. I was trying to find the thing where he said that he's against mercury poisoning in children and we cannot go back. Well, who the heck is in favor of it? Is this some pressing issue that's dividing the parties? You have one party that's protecting children from mercury poisoning, the other party doesn't give a damn? Because that's the way they were sort of, promoting it. I mean, that's kind of what it sounded like. I will not go back, he said, something like that. Trying to find it in here if I can, glaze over. But, come on. Nobody, that's a typical straw man argument, And I'm totally against mercury poisoning. You can ask my opponents what they think, but I'm against it. Sort of, give me a break. Yeah, it's terrible. But here's the thing. All you got to do, at that point in particular, which is just some throwaway line. God, it was ridiculous. All you got to do is get one of those new twisty light bulbs, the ones that are chock full of mercury, and just take it out on the campaign trail. Hey, the president said he doesn't want your children to be poisoned by mercury, but the president is behind the law that will require every American house to have this light bulb, and you hold it up, right, a prop, hold it up. He wants this light bulb in your house, which contains, and I forget what the stat is, X amount of mercury, and which the government has published guidelines. If you accidentally break one of these in your house, you have to basically turn it into a decontamination zone, so that you don't breathe in the mercury vapors, so that your kids aren't poisoned and your pets don't die. And this president wants to force every American to have, instead of the good old incandescent light bulb invented by American Thomas Edison, that's been good for us forever. He wants you to have this more expensive, potentially deadly thing in your house, the twisty bulb. It's twisty like him, right? Twisty. You got to watch him. He's twisty, just like this light bulb. See, and then that ties up so many great themes. the whole green stuff, the fact that you can't really trust what he says, and then every time someone looks at one of those light bulbs, they think of our twisty president.
That's very good.
See? It's
yes.
not hard. You can beat this guy. It is not hard. Okay? So, yeah. It's just like mercury poisoning. Come on. The greatest threat to our children for mercury poisoning these days are those light bulbs. I know that there are other threats. I'm not minimizing the threat. I'm saying the threat is worse than the president says. Okay? So they want to engage on that? Go for it. Go for it, Twisty. We'll see what we can do about it. Yeah, I should probably write that one. But it just occurred to me this morning, come on. Then, there were the usual big government things. We want a national commitment to train 2 million Americans with skills that lead directly to a job. We're going to cut through the maze of confusing training programs to have one big training program. So, okay, no details on this, but what's it going to be? Another, you're going to nationalize another big government program. The government training program is going to train everybody for jobs that don't exist, by the way. But, come on. We have, the maze of confusing programs. What, you mean community colleges? You mean all of the specialized training programs that private industry has set up? I mean, he's talking about, hey, what we really need is to centralize everything, to take over everything, and to make it all, a government program. That just gets back to your basic liberal belief that if only the government would seize control of all of the, inefficient things that the free market system and that, just American society and that a free people put together, it will be more efficient, it will be better. And that is never the case. It's never better when they do that. It's always worse. It costs more, it doesn't do as much, and it gets rid of a lot of useful individual variation that has sprung up just through, circumstance. So, okay, fine. That was one of them. Another was the, building our new energy future. That was, they want a big government project. During the Great Depression, we built the Hoover Dam and the Golden Gate Bridge. After World War II, we built, the highway system, blah, blah, blah. So he wants an executive order that will, stop slowing down all of the big money projects that he wants to put in, and also have kind of this national energy thing that's going to solve all of our problems. So we're going to be self-sufficient with energy. Okay, so that's why he stopped the Keystone Pipeline, apparently, that was going to help bring in oil from Canada, so that we could have at least more of a hemispheric sufficiency. I know Canada is not part of the United States.
Right, and now, if I might ask, I was, as I said, at the beginning of the speech, I was having dinner with my family and watched part of it at the restaurant, which I had to read because it was kind of loud. But then we had to drive home in order for me to catch the other half of it. But somewhere in there, I must have missed where he talked about the Keystone Pipeline. I remember writing something about it. I wasn't sure if he said anything about it. But I mean, the key things there with his I'm the guy who's making, because his thing was, hey, we are becoming more energy self-sufficient. America has produced more oil. We're going to have more offshore drilling. Boy, that was a shocker. Wasn't he the guy who stopped offshore drilling? And so forth. We're going to promote natural gas. And so forth. But again, these are your platitudes, Mr. President. These are just things that you say. What have you done? You gave billions of dollars in loan guarantees to develop Brazilian oil offshore, and now they're going to sell it to China instead of to us. You stopped the Keystone Pipeline, so that oil is going to, the Canadians have said, okay, that oil is going to China.
instead of coming to the United States. So I would say, Mr. President, as an energy president, you're doing a great job for China.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You're the best energy president China's ever had.
Maybe that's the thing. He's actually digging his way to China.
So to speak. Wow. So, okay, but getting back to the major theme, everything he talked about with respect to this was we need another government program. Because why? Because the Solyndra thing worked so well, and he's even defending that, and I don't get this whatsoever, that the White House has decided this is a good move, that they're going to defend the Solyndra debacle. That's great. Let them defend it, because it's indefensible. Number one, the government should not be involved in that kind of venture capital situation where they're, investing money in unproven technologies in ways that even venture capitalists won't support. And number two, it's all corrupt because the people who got the money were cronies and political supporters and, insiders who originally said, oh, we had nothing to do with it, but it turns out, as the investigations continue, they had everything to do with it. So, yeah, defend Solyndra. Brilliant. Go for it. It was all yours. You own it. Solyndra is yours. Now let's get the facts. If you only release all the documents, which you won't, then maybe we would know more. Okay? So why won't you release those documents, Mr. President? Solyndra was such a great idea. I know you released some, but where are the rest of them? Et cetera. Okay, you can bang that drum all the way to the election. And I'm sure we will. Because it's brilliant. You guys want to defend the indefensible? Go for it. I also loved this one. The executive branch needs to change. Too often it's inefficient, outdated, and remote. See, to me that sums up the man in charge. Was he talking about himself? We need to reform the executive branch?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Inefficient, outdated, and remote. That's him. He's on a, remote golf course somewhere. But
you just wonder, what was he thinking? What was he thinking when he said, does he not know where he served, or supposedly?
Well, he wants authorization from Congress to be able to, reorganize the executive branch in an unprecedented way that no president has had the power to do. So,
sure.
Actually, he has said he's just going to go do it anyway. Okay, fine. Here's a minor point, but this happened early in the administration and no one cares, but they don't refer to the National Security Council anymore, but to the National Security Staff. Well, the National Security Council was established by law as a National Security Council. You can't change the name. Yet they have changed the name. But who cares? Would you get a constitutional crisis over that? It's no big deal. But it just goes to the point that they don't really look these things up or even care about them. They just do what they want. So, okay, fine. He's inefficient, he's outdated, and remote. I think that should be their 2012 campaign slogan. Bring that guy back.
Yeah.
Then there was the whole foreign policy thing. But he just went over how great he is, how he said that anyone who tells you America is in decline and our influence has waned doesn't know what they're talking about. See, I take offense when the president tells me I don't know what I'm talking about. He was probably talking to me. So, we do too know what we're talking about. And so in the paper today, we have this kind of three-part analysis of how bad his foreign policy has been, in 500 words. And since we're down to, 2 minutes, but basically they came in with these visions of a clean break from the past, that George Bush was the worst guy in the world, and they're going to, break with everything he did and come in with his grand designs and visions of peace. We're going to have regional peace in South Asia. We're going to have a peace, a Israeli-Palestinian peace that will also bring in Iran, and it's going to be this great regional thing where everybody sings Kumbaya, everything's going to be great. We're going to close down Gitmo. We're going to stop torture, which they said was torture, enhanced interrogation, right? And we're going to give terrorists full constitutional rights and blah, blah, blah. Okay, and so just for talking about it, he got the Nobel Prize because that's all he got it for, was talking about stuff. And then how much of this happened? Okay, yeah, they stopped the enhanced interrogation techniques, but that didn't stop the criticism. All it did was affirm the criticism. Okay, it was torture then, the critics said. Good, glad you admitted it. So we lost that point. Gitmo wasn't closed, so, all of those people were disappointed. Terrorists were not given full constitutional rights, not yet. They're still working on that. All of the, grand designs for peace in the Middle East and Asia, all of this fell apart. None of that was realized. So then they said, well, we're not really, what we're doing is leading from behind. They came up with that one. I love it. They now deny it. But sorry, it was in the New Yorker. And if you can't trust the New Yorker magazine, what can you trust? The lead from behind, we're really behind the scenes. We're working everything out. Okay, fine. So, we have the Arab Spring, which they didn't predict, but then they tried to take credit for, and now Islamic radicals are taking over countries in the Middle East. And the best the administration can do is say, well, it wasn't a violent takeover. And because it wasn't violent, it must speak to the, to democracy and to human dignity. Yeah, but you have radicals taking over important strategic countries and allies like Egypt. They're going to destabilize the whole region. That's leading from behind. You have Iran, pursuing their nuclear program unabated, no matter what you do. Oh, now the music is swelling. Wow, it's all in the Washington Times. The point is, we do know what we're talking about.
Well, friends and patriots, I guarantee you he does know what he's talking about. And it is all in the Washington Times. If you haven't taken a look at Jim's article for today, you really should. It's a little bit frightening. We all know the end. We all know that in the end, the good guys win, right? Right. This is not that time. Let's pull together. Let's learn about what's going on in our world. And my gosh, please, can we please get active? There are a lot of people. There are a handful of people. Let me rephrase. There are a handful of people out there taking care of a lot of issues. If you have not gotten involved in this fight for your nation, for your children's futures, and if your children haven't gotten involved in the fight for their own futures, maybe that's a good place to start. Maybe start with our own children, because this is all about them. This is all about what we are leaving our generations to come, those who we have brought into this world, those who we have helped to nurture and train up in the way that they should go. So let's remember that. Let's keep that in our hearts, and let's get motivated. What will it take to get you motivated? I would love to hear what will it take to get you motivated. If it's not this massive debt, if it's not the tax that you're about to incur for making over $250,000, if it's not the border issue and I think it's 7 stations that have been closed by the Obama administration all at once while they restructure. If it's not the fact that our government has absolutely no budget guidelines, if it's not the fact that we have lost all of our energy, energy jobs, if it's not the fact that we have lost NASA and are no longer in that fight, if it's not the fact that America is being fundamentally changed every day by executive order or by a treaty, if that isn't enough to get you fired up, if that isn't enough to get you involved, I would like to know right now. Give us a call at 64647835519 and tell me, please, what is it that it will take to get you fired up, to get you involved, to get you in the fight. We need all hands on deck right now. What's it going to take, America? What's it going to take for you? Or what was the key? What was it that it took to get you into the fight? There is so much to do and so few people willing to do it. I personally, I totally get the whole I'm a mom thing, and I've got kids at home during the summer right now. It's really difficult. I've been invited to go to Austin to video a a, uh, a public meeting on smart meters, and I don't know that I can go. I don't know that I can make it. Why? Because I have children at home. Because I have a husband who is not yet in the fight. Because we're running really dangerously low on funds. And what I'm doing now, what I'm doing here, is really the best that I can do to not spend money, to not go anywhere, to not have to, pay $3.35 a gallon, to not have to leave my house and leave my family behind. I totally understand that it's difficult to stay in the fight. And I found a place where I can serve in better educating and better informing the public so that those who God has handpicked, will hear these voices of brilliance and knowledge and wisdom. And those hearts will be touched to move, to get up out of your seat and move. And if you have been touched to get up out of your seat and move, do it. Don't question it. Do it. If you can. If there's a full tank of gas in your car, do it. Do something. Find a place to serve every day that you are passionate about. There are so many places that have holes where people need to be standing, need to be working, hands need to be doing, voices need to be talking, organizations need to be organized. People need leadership right now. We lack it from the top down, so let's build it from the bottom up. That is the way this America, the great experiment, is supposed to work. The experiment isn't failing. The people have walked away to live their own lives, to take advantage of the great freedoms. And while we're taking advantage of them, they're being taken from us. Executive order after executive order after executive order. It is unreal what we are losing in this country. And guess what, folks? It belongs to your children. It's your children's future. It's your grandchildren's, your neighbor children's, your community children, the country's children. It is the future of this nation that is at stake. And it's hard to get our hands around that. It's hard to imagine that America, the greatness of America, could be at a point like this. But here we are. With that, I'm going to have to upload this, or I'm going to run Jim's show late. So I'm going to go, but I will be in the background, though I said earlier that I would just be here on audio, but I think I will be here in the background to take up this conversation and to take your calls at 64647833519. This is Beatrice. You are on Conservative Connection, and we'll be right back.
And we're here. And this is Beatrice, and I am here with Kevin Brady, who is the next best thing to Jim Robbins that I have found so far. And not that I'm looking any further, because Kevin has been with All Fired Up for quite a while and is pretty dedicated and sort of in the same situation as I am. You know, you are one of those, like myself, Kevin, who is sort of limited on what you can do right now, that you're doing all that you can, and it's very much appreciated. So welcome.
Hi, Bea.
Hi, Kevin. Kevin showed up in chat, and I wrangled him in to make a phone call. So what do you see? Did you get a chance to listen to all of the Robbins Rules for, what was it? Robbins Rules for Countering the Liberal Left.
I didn't get to listen to it all because, I came in a little late. I had some stuff to take care of. I just got up a little while ago. So then I noticed I had an urgent email to take care of.
Yes. Well, yeah. There are so many things that keep us down, but this is something that really we should get fired up about. This is something that every man, woman, and young adults should be focused on. This is the future of America, and I don't know. Is it just me who's fearful that the election is fixed? Is it just me who wonders if my vote really counts? Is it worth the even getting up and going to vote? I hear it all the time, and I see it all over the internet. My vote doesn't count. My vote doesn't count. And the more that you listen to people, the more that you realize why they're saying what they're saying. Is it a lost cause? What do you think, Kevin? Are we so far in debt? Are we so far away from where we should be? Are we so off target from the rule of this president that it's a lost cause?
Well, I don't think it's a lost cause, but if things don't change soon, I think it will be a lost cause. It's just gotten to the debt, like you said, is just way too high, and there's no end in sight. It's just going and going and going. Nobody seems to want to fix the real problems. They just want to Band-Aid everything. The left just has their idea of utopian whatever, and they don't actually see America the way the Founding Fathers did, or maybe the early Americans after the nation started. They have their own view of America. When they run into a problem, the left seems to fall back on, well, it's our right, it's our rights, and our rights, and that they just throw that at us. But the thing is that when the opposite happens, they try to squelch you. It's just, when the right wants to say something or do something, they don't want to hear it. They don't want anybody else to hear it. This is what I'm getting. Everything out there is the left is taking over everything, and that's what they want.
Well, it is. It's blatant hypocrisy. It's in your face, and we don't care about who you are. We don't care about what your views are. We don't care if you don't have the same opinion that we have, then it doesn't matter. Your opinion simply doesn't matter. And that is, I think it's resonating to most Americans. I really think the majority understand that we are not being heard. And as much as they say that they are working for the people are not, we're not feeling the love. We are not feeling the love. We are not feeling like we matter to this administration, to this president. And he said the other day that he has tried to find common ground. Well, I haven't seen him try, except for maybe 5 minutes for a camera up, and that was it. I don't see him listening to the people. I don't see him caring what the right has to say. And in America, it has. I mean, you and I know it. Jim knows it. Cheryl Devereaux knows it. The thing is that people have to acknowledge in America is very simple. There are two sides to this nation, And we have to find common ground. Common ground is the part that hasn't been shaken, the part that is still a firm foundation. I can't help wonder, clearly under this administration, we're not going to find common ground. This administration doesn't want common ground. My question is, will a next Romney administration be much better? What do you think, Kevin?
Well, I look at anything as better than this guy, really. It might not be much better, but it will be a step in the right direction. As I have said in the past, the key to this real election really is, I think, the Senate. I think the Republicans are going to remain in control of the House, and I really think they're going to win the Senate. And that's going to be where there's going to have to be some cooperation if Obama wins, which I think he's still going to win, because they're going to win no matter what. If you know what I'm talking about. Like you alluded to earlier, is this election just your vote not going to count because it's already been counted more or less?
Right.
But the thing is that, as I was mentioning earlier about the left, the left, in one sense, they don't want government in your personal life, and with abortion and marijuana and drugs and whatever. The leftist lifestyle doesn't want to have the government, but then they want the government to be in everybody's life in the sense of taxation, controlling what you can read and what you can see. It's censorship in a way on that sense where they've taken over pretty much all the media, and the media is going to show what they want to show. In other words, that's censorship. But the government is not going to just say that you can't show it. They're doing it more or less proactively. But back to where you said about Romney. Romney, I think that if he doesn't do something right at the beginning of his administration, should he win, then I don't think he's going to. I don't think things are going to happen the way he wants or the way people want it. He has to do stuff right away. Things have to change pretty much, like the Congress did in that first 100 days thing that they had years ago, if you remember. They had that contract with America. They said within the first 100 days they're going to do all this stuff or whatever.
Right.
He needs to do stuff like right away. Get whether he actually just stops it or he gets the ball rolling really, really quick. He's got to do it right away. There's too many things: the debt, the illegal immigration, personally, jobs things. I really don't see how government is going to create jobs. It never can and it never will. He has to remove obstacles from businesses that can create jobs. That's the key to the government's involvement in there. But that's basically what I'm looking at, is that the key is the Congress. The makeup of the Senate is going to be critical, and everybody's saying it's going to be a 50-50. I don't think so. I think the Republicans have a good chance of getting the Senate. I really do. I've been looking at who the candidates are, where they are, and I think they can do it. I hope that happens, though.
Well, I think you're right. I think that something drastic has to be done right at the get-go. But I think that, too, some of the things that Romney stands for are, well, keep past Romney here, right?
Right.
And, yes, maybe that was good for them in their district, in their state. Maybe it's not great for America. Maybe the Americans that Obama is catering to, you and I both know who they are. They're the people who can't afford they can't afford to have medical care. They can't afford to go to school. They can't afford to, because I heard somebody ranting this morning on another radio show about, well, if you feel like you are entitled to something, here's what you're entitled to, an education. Go out and get yourself an education. And I thought, why in God's name would I want to put myself through a college that caters to this administration? Why would I want to put myself in shackles, or my children for that matter, in the shackles of a loan, a college loan that is going to finance this administration that loves to finance Hamas, that has, Muslim Brotherhood ties. I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. But
I don't see that. I don't agree that now, as working in a debt collections business for student loans, I came to the conclusion that everybody is not entitled to a college education. You have to work at it and earn it, and you have to be able to finance it. You have to take a career that is going to pay for any student loans that you get from either a private loan or through government loans. People who go to college to study, let's say, music or art, that's great. But the thing is that how many of the people that really go to do that can become really successful to pay for some of the tuitions that are involved in the most prestigious places? I worked where people had $250,000 loans and they were art majors. Wait a minute. Why should the American people, the taxpayers, put up a loan to a person that's going to study art, and then that person ends up working in a restaurant and not being able to pay what is required minimum payment on a $250,000 loan throughout their college time? I saw all these things when I was working in my debt collection job. So I came to the conclusion that everybody is not entitled to a college education. You have to earn it. You have to work for it. You have to show that you are going to be able to pay it back. How many kids today, they go to college, and that's one of the other things I had for debt collections. Oh, I didn't finish my school. They go to college, all they do is party, and they don't get good grades. They get kicked out of school. Because if you don't get good grades, real good grades, you get kicked out of school after a period of time, and then you still owe the loan. What's that going to do? What's that tell you? The kids today see college as a way to get away from mommy and daddy and to be on their own and go out and do what they want. And college is just a place, and they don't apply themselves. My personal opinion is when someone gets out of high school, they should go out and work for a couple of years. Unless they really have the work ethic established already as a student. But if they haven't, they should go out and work and then go to college to find out exactly what they want to do. Not get a free ride to a place to just guzzle beer down and get crazy and not do your work. That's my opinion now, and I will not change it because I worked in an industry with people. I had to deal with people that had all kinds of weird excuses why they didn't pay their student loans back. And they say they're not going to pay it back because they either can't or they don't care to. So I have come to the conclusion that everybody is not entitled to a college education.
I totally agree. And with that, we've got about 15 seconds left. So I would like to thank you and Kevin for, I don't know if y'all can hear that, but I would like to thank you, Kevin, for joining me here on Conservative Connection. Thanks, everybody, for being here. And next week, Jim will be back. So join us.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next week with another exciting edition of the Conservative Connection. Same right time, same right channel. Bye-bye.
Conservative Connection with Dr. Jim Robbins is an All Fired Up Radio original broadcast. To find more Conservative Connection podcasts, go to www.allfiredupmedia.com. Our next live broadcast is Military Monday with Betty Kilbride at 6 p.m. Central Time on Monday evening. Thanks for listening to All Fired Up Radio.